Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report, a company update from Red Canyon Resources, chatting with the chairman and CEO, Wendell Zerb. A couple news releases for us to get to here. One being a financing that was closed with a strategic investor, that being Teck Resources, and the start of drilling at the Kendal Project, more specifically at that Kendal Ridge area. Red Canyon Resources is traded on the CSE under the symbol REDC and the OTCQB under the symbol REDRF. Wendell, let's start off with that financing. The closed financing oversubscribed for a little over $2.3 million. Charity flow through component that those shares then went to that strategic Teck Resources, who now owns 9.9% of the company. Big question here is, what does Teck want to see you do with this money? You have a portfolio of projects, all copper focused, many in BC. Tell us, what's Teck looking for with this investment?
Well, I think, starting with that one is interesting because, we know that, big integrated multinational companies are interested in copper, and Teck is not, immune from that sort of interest. So, when you look at our portfolio, seven different 100% owned copper projects, it certainly bodes well for, us drawing interest from the big companies. In this particular case, Teck was drawn to a couple of our projects and specifically really likes the overall size and look of the Kendall project. So, from that standpoint, they have visited the project. They show the interest. They see in terms of alteration, vein mineralogy, size of alteration, footprint, location. They see all the characteristics that we've seen in terms of potential. And ultimately, through different discussions and different, directions of how we could have gone, they were agreeable to take 9.9% of the company, and to sort of finish off that view. They want to see capital going into the ground, on our projects and specifically at Kendall to, help define the system and look for, these centers to these porphyry systems that have, the higher grades.
Well, Wendell, to that point, they did come in essentially at about 10% here, 9.9%, because they want the upside to all the projects. But since the focus is clearly on Kendall in the immediate term, let's dig into the plan here. You're going to have 2,500 meters looking for that porphyry center. Tell us a little bit more about the drilling that's coming up for the Kendall project.
So yeah, so the program's going to be about 5 to 8 drill holes. When we look again at these mineral systems, you're looking for all the different types of evidence to point you in the direction of the best mineralization. The Kendal Ridge area is our most advanced area. We have the most sampling done in that area. We've just completed a mobile MT survey that shows some very interesting conductive and resistive zones, which can be associated with different types of mineralization in these systems. And so it's the logical next step for us in terms of trying to define at least one of these centers to this big, porphyry system, this big hydrothermal alteration system. And we feel like Kendal Ridge is our best target to test right now. We're really confident that we're going to tag into different copper, moly, potentially gold mineralization there. And hopefully it's one of these centers, one of these better parts of the porphyry system. Many of these systems, they are dynamic and they can have several centers. We think that Kendall could be that way, but Kendal Ridge, again, by far the most advanced, and it covers still a big area to test. It's just under a kilometer by a kilometer in size. So, we've set up different drill pad locations. We're testing it right now, and we're excited about this target area as well as, the whole system and its potential at Kendall.
Wendell, give us a little explanation on, look, with these big systems, initial drill programs here, what you hope to prove out. Obviously, with these big systems and with copper assets, you want this to be big. So hopefully you start hitting stuff right away. But then do you isolate into different pockets? Do you explore deeper? Do you keep going along strike? Talk us through how you even start to test these major targets and what you hope to find right away.
It's actually an excellent question, Corey, because there's many investors out there that don't really understand the dynamics of these systems. And this is why, what we try to do is you try to convey, our exploration sort of direction and process to find the best part of a copper system. This starts all the way back at looking at different types of geoscience that we do. We look at the rocks, we look at the type of chemistry in those rocks, we look at the alteration, we look at veins and vein mineralogy, vein densities. We look at geophysics. All of these things in combination, without getting into specifics on the geoscience, hopefully lead us to where we think, where to test for the best part of the system. So we've done all of that over the last 4 years. We're continuing to do that because it's such a big system. But ultimately, we feel that we're at the right part of the erosional level in this system. We're looking for potassic alteration that has lots of veins in it that carry the right kind of mineralization we're looking for. And again, ultimately, what you try to do is you try to find these things prior to drilling through all the different methodologies that I just talked about, and then you drill test them. And again, there could be multiple centers here. We think we're onto a really good one right now, and ultimately that is going to create the value for shareholders. I mean, these are, the types of systems that multinationals want. This is why, we think that Teck is invested in the company, and we're doing the things that give our shareholders a shot to find billion-dollar assets.
Well, Wendell, in addition to the prospectivity of the geology and the potential for there to be multiple porphyry centers, there's also some pretty good infrastructure based on where you're at in British Columbia and some advantages just to the site itself. So maybe talk about that as just another kicker that would interest a major producer.
Again, an excellent question. I've looked at these types of systems worldwide for decades now, and there are copper deposits that have been discovered that sit in the portfolio of big companies, small companies, but mostly the large multinationals. And they've never been developed. And often they're not developed for a number of different reasons. Strip ratios are too high, metallurgy is not quite good enough. But a lot of it comes down to the infrastructure, where they're actually located. Because copper deposits require great infrastructure. You have to have road access, you need power, you need that labor force. You produce what's called a copper concentrate, which gets trucked or shipped or railed to port facilities. So where Kendall's located, it's a fantastic location. We have excellent infrastructure. We have roads, we have rail, we're close to port facilities. There's a labor force that's nearby, power at 4 cents per kilowatt hour. So we've got this massive advantage already. And if you can define, a copper deposit with reasonable grades, that infrastructure goes an amazingly long way to improve the margins of a potential mine.
So, Wendell, walk us through news flow then in terms of you started this drilling up to 8 holes. How long do you expect that drilling to take? What do you anticipate the turnaround times to be? And even after this program, how quickly can you get back on the Kendal project to follow up on the results you like?
Yeah, so this program will take us probably to early November. That's always dependent on weather, how drilling actually goes. The program again, the 5 drill holes or 8 drill holes that we get in is going to be variable depending on how each drill hole looks from a targeting standpoint. So, following that, we're constantly getting our samples to the labs. A lab turnaround is variable, but call it, a month to 6 weeks. So, we're hoping that we'll have results back before the end of the year and results on those. And it could be as early as early December. But again, variable always on how the program actually runs.
Well, Wendell, we'll definitely keep our eyes peeled for how this drill program goes at Kendall. But you have a lot of other projects in the company stable, and another one that's moved up the batting order in importance is Inzana, the Inzana project. You got two big targets there, the camp target and the TES target. Maybe talk about how that's waiting in the wings as another project of interest to drill.
Yeah, so we've been interested in this area for some time. This sits in what's called the Quinella Trend in central British Columbia. It's in the right kind of geological terrain. There's multiple mines that sit in this particular trend. But what we're looking for at both of these projects is what we believe are two porphyry centers. The camp, we believe, looks like it's an alkalic copper gold system. So it's one of these potentially higher grade copper with gold systems. There was some historic drilling done in the 1990s that we believe indicates that they were on the edge of a porphyry center, and they just didn't follow it up. And again, this comes into understanding these systems more today than we ever have. So we've just completed some airborne geophysics through that area. We have a mapping program that's going on right now, a relogging of core from an individual known as Dr. Mike Sepp, who's an expert in these systems. So we're building our way on both the camp and on the TES project area to be able to have those all set up and ready to be drill tested in spring next year. So again, dynamic projects, lots of evidence of copper mineralization in dynamic systems, doing all the background work so that we feel comfortable we can put in the best quality drill holes into those two particular areas of Inzana.
Wendell, do you foresee getting a partner in for any of these projects? I know being part of NewQuest Capital, some of the other companies that we know with Inflection Resources and Headwater Gold, they have major partners helping to finance and really moving some of their assets forward. So, do you see that environment or any majors coming into Pacific projects within the company?
So all of our companies within the NewQuest Capital stable, we run on a similar model, and that model is basically a hybrid model where we're very interested in early partnerships with major mining companies. We're also comfortable with particular projects and being able to test those by ourselves. I can tell you that we talk with a lot of the different major mining companies. We have CAs on different projects by major mining companies. So if the right type of project earn-in partnership is made available, we would be happy to entertain those. Sometimes it takes time to negotiate these things, to find common ground. But I can tell you that we are interested in those types of things. We think there's great possibilities for those in the future, but only time will tell based on how we push forward on projects and again on that interest from those major mining companies.
Well, Wendell, just to that point about looking at partnerships with some of the larger companies, maybe just a quick comment if we shift the focus down to the U.S. on your Scraper Springs project. I know it's a fairly advanced, more drill-ready project in Nevada. Could that be one of the projects that gets that bigger company interest to partner with you guys?
Yeah, Scraper Springs is a perfect example of a project that should have a partner attached to it. And the reason I say that is that Scraper Springs has an enormous alteration footprint. So that's the hydrothermal system and the manifestation that you get on surface in one of these big systems. So we've done all the groundwork in terms of identifying the system, the alteration around the system, lots of different geophysics. It's in a fabulous location as well. But it's also, a type of project where it could be so big that it should have a partner attached to it. A type of a project like this, it's a little bit more expensive to test. We would love to partner Scraper Springs. And again, we do talk to a lot of the different majors on this idea. So time will tell on Scraper on whether a partnership can come together. But we really believe that there's fabulous potential associated with this big system, and we're either going to test this through a partnership or we're going to test it ourselves, in the coming months.
All right, Wendell, we'll wrap it up here. Look, both these news releases really move the market for the stock. Nice to see the stock, in a way, kind of re-rate higher on the back of the start of drilling and Teck coming in as a strategic investor. Sounds like news flow wise, still going to be very much focused on this Kendal project and the drilling that is now underway. So I'll post a link to the company's website in the show notes. Everyone, I recommend clicking on that link and reading a little bit more on the Kendal project, getting up to speed before we start to see some of these results. And as always, send us any questions you have for Wendell. Wendell, thank you very much for this update, and please keep us up to speed, especially when you start to get back some of these drill results.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.